My name is George Keaton Jr. I am the founder and executive director of Remembering Black Dallas. I have started this organization out of the need of our history to be preserved and recognized in the city of Dallas. Our main focus is to promote and um, highlight African Americans in the city of Dallas.
I am Sheniqua Michael Cummings. I am a founding member and board member of Remembering Black Dallas. I work on research and marker committees where I help identify, recognize, and research significant African American cultural sites as well as people, and with the main goal of helping preserve African American culture and history in the area. One person of note is R.F. Taylor, better known as Reverend R.F. Taylor. He's an African American minister who lived on and owned land that is now the Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. And he was also one of the last known burials in the cemetery in 1901. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Glad we've got a chance to meet again since we've been working and get a chance to talk about our research on R.F. Taylor and look at what we've done. And I want to share with you some things that I've found and also been challenged with as I've gone through to do my research. And I'm sure you have some things too. I'd love to hear what you talked about as far as what we mentioned. But in researching, of course, as you know, the slave schedules are quite difficult to manage through simply because you only have the gender and the age of the person, the approximate age, not necessarily the age, but of the person. Then I was able to go to the 1870 census as to where they really actually had listed them as a person and with their name. So that was quite helpful in what I was doing. When we got to the 1870 census, it was a challenge to match up the age. And the good thing is that most of the people were in the same location. When they were moved away, that made it difficult for me to do my research simply because they were no longer in the vicinity of where they originated. So with those that were in the vicinity of, such as in the 1870 census, I was able to try to match the age with that person and the gender. And if they were 5 on the 1860 slave schedule, then they would more than likely be 15 on the 1870 census. And also the church has its own set of records as they keep their minutes that have the who was at the meeting and who was the secretary and the positions that the people held. And we were fortunate that he was, as you know, on the like a traveling minister. And so each place that he went would have good records of his works and where he would be. Also, most black families, as you know, they use the Bible to record simply because when babies are born, they did not go down to the county records building and file that information. Only when hospitals came about was that a luxury that, researchers would have had to use. The Bible's recorded when they were born and when they died and so forth. So, with that said, that's where most of my research avenues are, and I'm sure you have some others to extend and go further with it. So I would like to hear maybe some of what you've gone through and what you've seen along your journey.
Yes, like you said, there are a few sources that we can use for African Americans. Deed records I found was very helpful. Although we generally think of deed records as something that records land, since enslaved people were unfortunately classified as property, records of buying and selling them can be included in those deed records. Also, we have the 1867 voter registration. So as part of re-entering the United States, some southern states had to meet certain requirements, including registering all African American men over the age of 21 to vote. And some of those records haven't survived, and some weren't very thorough. So those are some of the resources that I used.
Right. I think also one of the biggest hurdles are would be the fact that you have to use so many alternative methods. History is not mainstream across the nation. You almost have to sometimes go to that
Right.
place to find it. Whereas with white history, most of it is pretty straightforward, documented, online, digital, and that's not the
Right.
case. So I would say that's probably the biggest hurdle is that we have to go to the actual source, whereas in most cases, I mean, you can go all the way back to England before those people came here, and you have data.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You are so full of information. It's always good to remember those ancestors and to have that ancestral spirit to help and guide us through this process.